Welcome back to the Outdoor Adventures Podcast. I got with me in the studio co-host extraordinaire Dylan Williams, and we have his buddy Kyle. And Kyle, I don't know your last name. I don't know if you want that out to the universe, but
Christensen is his last name.
Yep.
all right, that's a good last name. I like it. So Kyle is one of Dylan's buddies, gearing up, getting ready for a mule deer archery hunt this year. And I've hunted with Kyle on one trip, I believe. And then also I bumped into him recently at that 3D shoot, and he was out there with his brother-in-law and a couple buddies and his daughter, who's, how old is she?
Yep, 4.
So she was great, trooper all day, just following him around and helping him. But anyway, they were one of the best shooters. Their group were some of the best shooters we had out there. So I have no doubt you can get the job done.
I hope so. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely put the time behind the bow, and that's important.
I think it's gonna be a good opportunity if we get a good setup, and I think we're gonna be able to execute pretty well. It's gonna be awesome. I'm freaking stoked.
Well, you and my dad are going to be over there for like 10 days or something, 9 days.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'm only getting to do it for half the time with them, but I have a good feeling they're going to get over there and get one done.
Yeah, a big one, hopefully. I mean, my brother and I were there last archery season, and I think it was 18 different bucks that we saw. And then, I mean, 2 real giants and some nice ones and some small ones. But
I've never had a dull archery season over there. Like the deer numbers over there, once you get over there for that archery time, is extraordinary. But then once it gets into that rifle season, some stuff starts to get a little sneaky and hidey on you a little bit.
For sure. And you also have way less people. That's what I loved about it. We saw hardly any other hunters, which was, to me, fantastic. You know,
just the ones that raided your camp.
Yeah, just the ones that robbed me, which was cool.
That's whatever. Melatonin gummies got to use, though, you know?
Yeah.
Stuff happens, you know. What do you do? It's the risk of being out there, I guess, sometimes. But I definitely will be more cautious going forward. Not going to be leaving much in camp.
Well, one thing I want to talk about, I just thought about this now. Actually, we're going to do what I do on every podcast and just throw something in randomly.
Yeah.
Okay?
This is live. This is how it goes.
So when we're hunting over there, do you ever notice how much more difficult it is to sneak up to a deer or have that opportunity to make a shot on a deer over there with a bow as opposed to, well, you haven't done much over here, have you, with your bow?
Well, but I just know what you're getting at. I mean, it's a lot drier over there for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and over here we get a ton of rain. There's a lot of cover, not as much cover over there.
Yeah, it's wide open, man. Well, especially the spots that we hunt, because we hunt it like we're rifle hunting it, kind of.
But still, even when I went with my brother and we saw that group of deer and there was a couple bucks in there, and we just laid behind cover and let them come to us, and I could tell they were on guard, but they didn't see us, you know? And they fed right towards us. So if you can be patient, that's always the hardest part.
Yeah.
I remember, archery hunting with you over here one evening, and we were like texting each other from where we were hanging out. It'd been like 7 minutes. We're like, it feels like it's been an hour. You seen anything yet? So
the anticipation.
Yeah.
It's so different over here because the numbers aren't the same.
Yeah.
No,
Like
it's just not even close.
Other than that one day with you and Kyler that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like that was unbelievable.
That was a crazy freak day. And I was like, man, Dylan's got some spots.
Yeah, then I went back there and didn't see another deer.
I've been back there 3 or 4 times and never seen any.
So I don't know what that day was all about, but it was pretty special.
It was.
It was like $8 or something. It was nuts.
I think that's the other thing about hunting in general, that when you're in those moments, you're like, oh, this is going to happen next time I go out. And then 20 years goes by and you're like, I've never seen that again.
Yeah. Right. Well, even with John and I, we went walking. We were rifle hunting, but walked in and it was raining so hard. You couldn't even use your binos, couldn't see through the scope. Like we were miserable. We were ready to go home. We were in there for 20 minutes. And next thing you know, we look up and all these deer started popping up, and John just wiped his binos off enough to see all of them had horns. All 6 of these deer popped up, all had horns, and we were trying to pull our guns up to shoot, and it couldn't see. It was all foggy, and it was just one of those things. It's just totally different atmosphere from here to there once you get to Eastern Oregon, because it's wide open. Weather's pretty mellow. I mean, you have some days where it rains, some days when it snows, but man, it's nice.
Well, and it's crazy when you see a big group of mature deer or even like nice shooter bucks all together like that. I mean, that's just...
Well, I'll probably never see that many blacktail bucks together again.
Yeah. No, that was crazy.
Unless it's like, at my parents' place or something.
Yeah, unless you're, those family farm deer.
Yeah.
They're a little more cozy. But Kyler's been bear hunting a lot, and they bumped into 6 branch bull elk together just on this last bear hunt. Like 6 bulls all together, like branch bulls. And they were all still in velvet. And he was thinking, that's probably why they were out in the open. Maybe they didn't want to, because that live tissue bumping it on the tree branches and stuff.
God, I wonder what that feels like.
That's got to hurt. You got to think as something's growing on your head and it's got to be tender. And then like, oh man,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
Or
when
the
you go to
transition, right? Like going from that to hardhorn, just the itch and be like poison oak times 10, I bet.
But
just
can you imagine
freaking raking?
just getting bigger and better every year? So like imagine that was your bicep. Every year you'd lose your arm, you'd grow another one and just get bigger and better
I wouldn't
every year.
complain, I'm telling you that much. I would not complain if that was the case.
It'd feel good for your manhood,
Yeah.
You're just like
Straight survival.
bigger and better this year,
testosterone.
boys.
If I could have the stomach shed each year and just come back a little bit skinnier,
Just
that'd
start
be
with
pretty sweet.
the 8-pack and then
Just keep progressing, add another pack each year. Keep working it down.
Well, I've been having some coyote woes at my place. So I lost, we went on a little family vacation with the kids, and we had a young kid house sitting for us. I work with his mom, and nice kid, he's trying to take care of my sheep for me. And last time he watched my sheep on 4th of July, one just mysteriously died, and it had like frothy blood in its nose. And we weren't sure if something scared it or if it was fireworks or whatever, or it always seemed a little off. So maybe it's underdeveloped lungs or something. But anyway, so then he house sits for me again. First night he gets there and he texts me. He's like, how many sheep should there be? And I'm like, well, it should be 16. He's like, well, I'm only counting 14. So I give him numbers of each color of sheep because I got black ones, white ones, brown ones. And anyway, he's like, well, I'm missing a black one and a white one. And I'm like, okay. So he's like, I'm going to go back out in the field now that I know. And it's like 9, 10 o'clock at night. So it's pitch black. And I told him where our flashlights were and stuff. And he found one that was half eaten. And he calls me. He's like, I don't know if I should be out here. I just started thinking in the pitch black with whatever's eating your sheep, And I'm like, well, just talk to me until you get to the house. And so he got back in the house and he dealt with it the next day. And I guess that morning he saw the coyote chewing on that half eaten one when he went to go throw it away, and the other little one just was gone completely. So then we get home. So I just told him, hey, keep him on the top pasture. It's a little safer. Throw some hay out for him as there's not a lot of feed, and I'll deal with it when I get home, So we get home. First day we're home. First day they're on the bottom pasture again. And I come to work, and my brother lives in the neighborhood, and he goes, hey, I'm on a hike with the kids, and there's a coyote out in your field. And he's huge. He's like the size of a German Shepherd. He's like, it's the biggest coyote I've ever seen. And he's like, it's eating something out there. I'm like, well, he must have got another one, And sure enough, he got another one. So that night I sat over the carcass hoping he'd come back, and stayed out till dark, nothing. Tried again the next morning. Did that for 2 or 3 days. And then we had a full moon the other day, and they were all yipping in my bottom pasture, just a bunch of coyotes. I could hear them out there. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I typically sleep in my boxer shorts, so I throw on my rubber boots, grab my gun, run out in the moonlight and looking for these things. And my wife comes with me. And anyway, they were gone by the time I got out there. But then that next morning, I go to let the sheep out. It's like 9:30 in the morning, so it wasn't like super early. And it was 11 o'clock in the morning when my brother had seen this coyote in my field, which is pretty late. So I go up there, and I'm going to let him out, and I look out the corner of my eye, and I see this coyote. And at first I thought he was a deer because he was so big bodied. I was like, man, there's a deer over there. And I'm like, holy cow, that's a coyote. So I walk back to my house, and I go, told my son, I'm like, go grab my cell phone. And I go get my gun. I call my neighbors. It was on my neighbor's property. I go, hey man, there's a coyote on your property. He's been eating my sheep. Do you care if I shoot him? He's like, go get him. As long as you can take a safe shot,
Yeah.
And so I sneak up behind these oak trees. I get about 100 yards, put the crosshairs on him. He sits up like a dog. He disappeared. So I thought, oh man, he took off, but he laid down flat. Then he pops up and he's sitting there, and I put the crosshairs on his chest, squeeze one off. He runs. I'm like, oh, I missed. How did I miss? And hop in my truck, drive around to my neighbor's house, go up there, and I see blood on the ground. Not a lot, but a fair amount of nice red blood. So I think I got him. my neighbor's got like 4 foot tall grass all around his backside full of poison oak. So I wasn't going to go digging around in that, because then I fear like he's going to get me again if I get poison oak out of the deal. But I was like, we haven't had problems since. But I've been seeing coyotes in every field when I take my daughter. She's got a babysitting deal, and so I drive about 15 minutes, and all these fields are full of coyotes, just tons of them. And I called Department of Fish and Wildlife, and they said this year they've had more complaints than ever for livestock with coyotes.
Wow.
And she said coyotes, bobcats, and cougars have been just terrible this year.
Really?
So anyone listening, get out there and shoot some of these dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
Even like that first time you were talking when Charlie found it, we were on the phone in the morning when you were leaving your house, and you saw what we think is the coyote that's killing your sheep, because you said, that's the biggest coyote I've ever seen.
Yeah, and he was on the refuge while I was talking to Dylan that morning. That was at like 7:30.
Yeah.
And then by 11, he was in my pasture from the refuge, which is pretty close, chowing down on another sheep. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're living on that organic, fresh lamb meat, you're going to get big and beautiful.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And Sam just got a low leg bloodshot.
That's what he keeps saying, that I low legged him. I'm like, there's no way.
Oh, just a winger.
Yeah.
He sends me a picture. He sends me a picture of this blood, and it's, it's decent blood. It's nice and red color, and all I sent back to him was, that's a low leg shot.
I'm like, how do you know that from the picture? That was, yeah. So that's
But
cool.
even
man.
that or the day that Charlie got, because then you called me, I don't know, right around 11 something, when you heard from Charlie. Called me, said, that coyote's in my field eating a sheep right now, or something. It was so funny.
I was pretty fired up. I talked to my mom, and she's like, hey, tone down. I'm hearing a little bit more words than I want to hear coming out of your mouth. So, because they're like my babies, and like you raise them up. We got them through the eagles trying to eat them when they're little.
Yeah.
They're finally ready to be sold or butchered, and now, coyotes have taken 3 of them from me. So,
Okay.
So how many do you have left?
I just have 3 left. Yeah, and we were going to keep one as a carryover anyway. And of course, the one we had picked out, survived, and she's a brown one. So it's like the brown wool is kind of more rare. So we were going to keep her anyway.
Well, so how'd you go from 14 to 3?
Well, there's a lot of adults.
Right. Do you have ewes and lambs?
Yeah.
Or ewes and
I was
rams,
just talking
I
a
was
full
gonna say?
number, not just your lambs. Like
Right.
how much is your total number?
Right now, I have 10 sheep left.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
So, and 2 goats. So
I
I
was
was
wondering
up
if you
to
sold some or
16 total, I think. So I must have lost 4 in total. I'm trying to think of. Yeah, there was 4 in total that he ended up getting 3, and then that one that just mysteriously died. So,
Dang.
yeah, he had a good, spring, summer.
Well, at least that your house sitter knows what to expect now when he comes back.
Won't be as traumatized. Yeah, my brother's like, either this dude's in some sort of cult and there's going to be a bunch of lamb's blood stashed in your fridges, or there really is a coyote out there. And then once he saw it, he's like, oh, I guess there is a coyote.
Yeah, I guess there is. All right.
Which
We'll
is
knock
good.
that one off the
He might
list.
be chomping at the bit to leave the old 270 out there for him to knock one down, maybe.
Well, exactly. Actually, my cousin's husband, he's got one of these infrared scopes on like a 223 or a 5.6 or something like that. And so he wants to come out and do a night hunt with me and see if we can get one to come in and try to get him.
Absolutely.
Because we could set up a really safe shooting corridor and just see if we can get one to come in. So,
Well,
I bet
yeah.
you will.
I've always wanted to do one of those night hunts with it too. I think that'd be so fun.
yeah, those infrared scopes are sweet, where you just see the thermal scope, I guess.
Absolutely,
Just-
yeah. No, the technology's come a long ways with this.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It is crazy. Well, enough about coyote hunting, but let's dive into what Kyle's been up to in the hunting space. So, I guess just maybe Kyle, introduce us to, and Dylan will pop you with some questions, and I'm sure I will too, but introduce us to kind of how you started hunting and what got you going in the sport of hunting. Did you grow up doing it? Did your family always do it?
Yeah.
Kind of, let us know how you started, and then we'll talk to you about where you're at now.
Okay. Let's see. Well, a little background, I guess, how I started. I come from a single mom as a parent. So my hunting aspect kind of stemmed from just like pure mentor. I got lucky and I met a guy who kind of showed me the ropes on hunting. They had a sweet little piece of property. It bordered Weyerhaeuser. It's almost like a magical story because it was just so unrealistic now as an adult. Like, I think the first deer, I know the first deer I killed was like it was a giant 4-point, 16 and a half inch from web to web. It was a great buck. Went through, so that guy, I started doing the peer mentorship with him. Went through all my hunter safety course with them. Started shooting.
And what age are you during this?
I think 13, yeah.
Okay.
Right at that age. And I think I met him at the age of 12, so I kind of got like a soft opener. The first gun I ever shot was a Sears and Roebuck break action single shot 12 gauge.
Oh, man.
And we're sitting, he had like a little garage, detached garage, and a little lean-to off of it, and he always had this couch that sat under it, him and his dad. And old school couch, just sat under there next to the wood pile with a sheet over it, and we'd always sit there, and there was a sheet of plywood up there, and he'd always sit there and watch for gophers. And I remember he's like, "Here, you want to try?" And I was like, "Oh, absolutely," just chomping at the bit. I was probably 12, super stoked. And so he throws a slug in there, jacks it back. I had no clue. I was like, I'm not sure what's going on. So I pull it up. The gopher starts digging. You start seeing the mound go, and he's like, "Yeah, put the bead on it. Let her eat." Okay, so I, cock the hammer back, start seeing the dirt raise, squeeze the trigger, and it landed a freaking thunderstorm to my shoulder, man. It was a freaking 3-inch Magnum. Just walloped me. I mean, this is a Sears break action single shotgun. It probably weighs 2 pounds, and it's straight wood.
Yeah.
It was a hammer to a 12-year-old.
Oh, yeah. And 12 gauge with a slug.
100% black in my shoulder. But we called him Grandpa. Grandpa looked at me, and he was like, "That's the hardest hitting gun you'll ever shoot in your life." And I was like, "Okay." And ever since then, I was not worried.
Yeah.
The next gun I had that I killed my first deer with was like a Savage 7mm with a nice muzzle brake, and so it was a nice gun. It was loud, but it didn't kick like a regular 7 mag would.
Yeah, you probably thought that was a BB gun. When you
it was not a big deal. It was not a big deal. So so I started off with that. I would consider that was my trophy buck because ever since then, and I've had some pretty awesome. I'm 29, and I've killed 4 bucks total. So I'm not super successful. I spent a lot of time out there, but not as much as a lot of people. But yeah, so the rest of them are all 3x2s. So I'm on a pretty tight streak right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's still not, you're not shooting spikes though. I mean,
we're doing all right, you know, and I've always, and one thing I was taught was like kind of the conservation part of that. So I've always, Dylan always gives me a hard time, but I always like have a mindset of I want something that's mature and big. I'm not necessarily going after the fork and horn or the first thing I see, which is kind of my downfall because I do get opportunities, but I kind of second guess them, and then the opportunity kind of melts apart. But
yeah, a lot of times those opportunities are seconds, especially on the west side over here.
Absolutely, yes, especially over here.
And of the deer you've taken, have they all been blacktail, or have you got?
Yeah. As of now, all blacktail. I've been on 2 muley hunts. First one, I think Dylan was on. It would have been, it was actually me and John. John was there for sure. That's
Were you
the
guys
first
archery hunting on that one.
First archery hunt. Okay. First year archery hunting over east. Had an opportunity. So we're driving over there. Me and John and his dad, and I think that might have been the first time I might have met you.
Yeah, it might have been.
I was not at this one.
No, I don't believe you were. It was definitely John. And so we go over there, and they're big talking, like, "Hey, listen, you're gonna see lots of bucks. We're gonna see lots of bucks." And then we're only there for the long weekend. And sure enough, first day, opening day, first light, we see a decent fork and horn. I'm not even kidding you. It was not 500 feet from camp. We're rolling down the burn road. Stop. Get out. Knock an arrow. He is 20 yards skyline, like right there. I'm like, they're like, I don't know. It's kind of up to you. And I'm like, I'm just chomping at the bit. I'm like, oh. So I passed. And we got on some awesome stalks the rest of the time, chased so many bucks, but was unsuccessful. So I learned, I was like, man. And now I'm always kind of like gun shy. I'm like, you can't really pass. Should you pass one up? Like, I always have that mentality in the back of my mind. I want to kill a nice mature buck. But at that point, like, you're only given so many opportunities, right?
Yeah, and those muleys compared to a blacktail, you're already getting so much more meat. It's hard to pass them up. It is. And we talk about Blade a lot on here, but I passed on him opening morning, and then I shot at him later and shot at him a few more times. But it's one of those things where it's, I don't know, it does something to your psyche sometimes when you pass them up too, I think, where you're like, okay, that was my shot and I chose not to take it. But at the same time, like this year for me with this rifle tag, I'm not shooting anything little. Like, I'd rather come home empty than shoot something small.
But I think it also depends too. Like, you've hunted this place. This is your fourth time getting it, fifth time probably.
Yeah, fourth or fifth time. Yeah.
So it's been a lot of years that you've been doing this thing, and I mean, not to be super ruthless, it's not you have like a big one to show for it.
True. My biggest buck, same thing. First buck I killed, that 3-point in my office, and he's the best buck I've ever taken. And yeah, I've been a part of hunts with very large bucks, but I've usually tagged out the day before on a little buck,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But, like, I had the same experience too with my first time drawing this tag, the rifle tag, the same place that Kyle's going bow hunting and where you guys went with John. And so first time I drew it, we went and camped at your guys' old camp on the worst road that's ever existed, known to man. And we're driving out, and we always leave camp kind of where we have enough daylight, because you're going to see deer on the side of the road, and we like to see them a heck of a lot. Like, just seeing deer is a win for us. Like, not necessarily the harvest or any of that stuff. I just really do appreciate the animal more than anything. And we get almost to where the gravel meets pavement, to where we're getting back onto the main road to head to our hunting spot, right? Right off the road, my dad stops. Without saying a word, he just has this big sigh. Well, there's 2 bucks. It doesn't get much easier than that. Take your pick. And it was these 2 twin fork and horns, and they were really nice fork and horns. They're bigger than the buck I brought home. And I was kind of chomping at the bit. My dad and my uncle were saying, hey, you have a lot of season left, and this tag is way too good to tag out this early on this buck right now, because you'll see plenty. And I did. I saw a lot, but I missed everything.
This is archery or rifle?
This is rifle. My first time getting the rifle tag. Okay. I missed everything in sight. I think I told my dad when I left, because we didn't have a box of bullets. We were going to get one.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had 4 shells.
Get out of here.
And he goes, well, let's go get a box. And I said, why? He goes, well, you might need them. Dad, I only need 1. That's what I said.
Oh.
I missed 9 shots on this trip at like $7.
And was it buck fever, you think? I mean,
it had a lot to do with it, but the thing with it, like, we didn't have a rangefinder yet. I was using my great uncle's 270. It doesn't have the nicest scope on it, so the optics aren't the best. And I was like, over there, you see a buck standing there, and if it's a big one especially, it does not look nearly as far as it actually is. So my uncle had a rangefinder with us, but it wasn't in the pickup. It was at camp. So this whole first day after I passed that fork and horn, we get to where we always hunt. We get out, we walk in, we're sitting at this log, we're glassing, and these bucks come barreling over the top of the mountain in the single file line, and you can see the horns on them fine. Like, I can see them with my naked eye. Perfect. And this one in the back, it looks like a bull elk just came over the top of the hill right behind all the other ones look like spikes compared to this one. And my dad and uncle just get, like, they were talking about how excited they get for me. they're, oh my God, start shooting. You're freaking out, right? They're like, do you see him? Do you see him? And all that kind of stuff. So I start shooting at this deer, and I'm like, man, I think that's like 700 yards from me. And so I shot twice, and I'm like, I don't know if this is like, I'm not even coming close. The buck's not even moving any other direction than forward. Like I'm hitting like 40 feet low, I think. And then it just kind of progressed like that. Like the shot challenges were there. I had one where it was straight down a hill, super steep. And it was like 300 yards to the buck. And I kept shooting over the top of his back. And I think I shot at that one. It might have even been more than 9 shots. But anyways.
At the one deer?
No.
Oh,
no,
just
not
total.
Okay. Throughout the trip. I was no, it had to been more than that. I don't remember. 17 maybe.
Really? Okay. So, significantly 16? Young in that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that buck I was shooting at that was straight downhill had to have been the widest 3-point anybody's ever seen. Like, it laid out flat. It was humongous. And then with it, after that buck, I was so just disappointed and like I couldn't figure out what was going on. This 4x5 stepped out right behind it, just as big as that 3-point, just popped out. And after I shot my last shot at that 3-point, he like hunkered down real hard and took off. So we thought I hit him. So I didn't. That 4x5 ran closer to us and had more of a flat shot, and I never shot at him because we thought we hit that 3-point. Went down there, didn't even come close to it. Not a speck of blood. We looked forever. Nothing.
Yeah, it's weird over there. It is almost like an optical illusion too, especially like the hillside to hillside thing. You know,
It's
you see
deceiving.
you see those big bucks on a hillside silhouetting and you're like, oh, that's
seems so much closer.
That's 250 yards. I got that, and you pull up on them and they don't even move.
Yeah.
And you're like, huh.
Yeah.
Well, back to your point about, like seeing all these deer and then you're like, man, I can't wait for that to happen again. That has never happened that I've seen since we've been back to this unit, that happened for me. Other than bow hunting, it's a little different. We've seen a lot of big bucks bow hunting, but that specific encounter rifle hunting, I'll never see that, I feel like, again.
Yeah, your odds of seeing it again are not strong.
It was just, it's 4-point after 4-point.
And maybe just timing with the herd migration or just a really good survival year. We were talking about that a little bit before we got started about how a lot of the country's been hammered this winter. And they're talking about these winter kill numbers for the mule deer in particular. But my whole life growing up, they've been talking about how mule deer populations are struggling. And you're like, I don't know. When we were over there for John's bachelor party, we saw a lot of does and fawns. I mean,
and we saw a lot of bucks.
Yeah, it just seems like in Oregon anyway, the winter wasn't that bad. So the deer that are staying here are fine. I get that the migratory herd in some of the other states that get harsher winters, they're gonna maybe see a little dip. But
well, and I've like this unit we always talk about. I've been over there a lot and we've talked to a lot of different hunters, and it seemed to always be the same. Like they'll be like, man, we haven't seen anything, and I don't know if they're just trying to like get us to be like, oh yeah,
we saw 4 big bucks just
here.
down this hill.
Yeah, I don't know if they're just like hiding the fact that they're seeing all the deer, that because like when we hear them say that, we're like, what are you talking? Like, are you speaking Japanese right now? What do you mean?
Well, it's
we
like
just
the
saw
same,
140 today.
Yeah, it's just the same thing with fishing. It's where'd you get that one? Oh, over here, and I was using this and this, and it's nowhere near what they actually caught the fish with.
Right. Yeah. I always wonder that though. I wonder how often they're just like telling you that little white lie.
Yeah, I would imagine most hunters are pretty guarded with what they're seeing and where they're seeing animals. So for you, Kyle, do you have like an opening day? Well, let's talk a little bit of what made you transition. So you had this mentor. He showed you the ropes, taught you kind of how to rifle hunt and how to hunt over here on the west side. What made you get interested in the archery thing? Was it hanging around with John and Dylan, or was there other influences that got you into that?
Oh, man. Well, let's see. To be honest, I was never really, I was okay rifle hunter, not super successful. My wife always likes to give me a hard time because, I eat a lot of tags. So I spend, significant time every year out there, put money into it, work into it. And it just wasn't panning out. But I am like, I always get the nickname, I'm an explorer from her. Not a killer. I spend a lot of time out there,
Christopher Columbus, as one would say.
Yeah. So, honestly, I guess my transition from rifle to archery was I bought my first bow, who had been from John. This was about got to be about 4 years ago. Matthews Z7. I got that bow, started shooting, and absolutely fell in love. 100% was not set up to me. It was, I want to say it was like maybe a 28.5, maybe 29-inch draw. I'm not a big guy, but right now I'm shooting a Matthews V3 31 with I'm right around 30-inch draw. So it was a little tight. It wasn't bad.
But you weren't getting that full extension.
I wasn't comfortable to come to find out because I knew nothing about archery, right? I have no clue. Not a clue about arrows, form, draw, none of it. Had no clue. So I'm going into this shooting, but the thing I guess I really fell in love was that I can go pick up my bow, go outside, and shoot arrows. At this point in my life, I lived in town. One of my best friends was my roommate, and we would just shoot arrows all the time, and it was great. That transitioned into me moving outside of town, got some property, and I continued it. Shot. And that's kind of what started it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're a really proficient shooter from what I saw for only being doing it for 4 years. I mean, you definitely have some time behind that bow.
And you do it like you shoot every day, don't you?
I try to shoot every day. Yeah. I know I'm not that great. But I think I know what is great. I guess, now with social media being what it is, it's bombarded with all the best, right? And obviously when they put their best online, you don't see maybe all the bad. Mm-hmm. So have I whiffed a lot of arrows into the neighbor's yard across the road? 100%.
Yeah.
And it's a bad feeling, but now I've definitely altered that so that we fix that problem. We have a nice thick backdrop. Yeah. Well, these bows and I guess that comes from like just being ignorant and very novice. I started with this one bow. I think I was 65, 70 pounds. Now I'm shooting 75 pound and a little longer draw length. So I'm shooting like a 286-ish feet per second. That arrow freaking moves, man. And there's not, I mean, even deflecting through a double sheeted piece of carpet, it might go another 50, 100 feet. It's really not, you really can't just guess on the distance.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to make sure you're stopping.
Yeah. So we changed some stuff up. Luckily I live on 5.5 acres, so it really doesn't leave the property. So that's a plus.
Yeah, that is.
And I'm glad too that you shoot so much and stuff, because it makes, like, for this trip coming up, it makes me and like my dad who's going with us feel so much more comfortable knowing and confident knowing that we're going with somebody that takes the time to actually put in the work to get good at this craft, because it's not easy. Like when I first started bow hunting and stuff, like I thought it was just I could go to Bi-Mart and buy my arrows and get 48 of them because they're about $6 for 6 or whatever, and go ahead and go out and start shooting and try to just go hunting after shooting for 2 weeks. It takes so much time to get good at that. And I've noticed that too, just when you pull back from that foam target to that transition when you're pulling back on an animal, the game changes significantly, because you're going from something that you're so used to seeing that's either low to the ground, or if you even have one block on top of that, you're still not holding that height that you would be for a deer or an elk. And then also the elevation changes, like those 3D shoots, because Kyle does that quite often. Like you get to experience those real life shots that you're going to see actually in the field. And I only shot the 3D shoot a couple times, and I should have done that, took advantage of that availability a lot more.
Sure. Yeah, I think I could touch base on, like, I got a bad taste in my mouth, and I think I took it after the fact of this moment, I took bow hunting a lot more serious. So this would have been my first year archery hunting. My brother-in-law is my other hunting partner that I hunt with. And so we put in for this tag. This would have been a couple years ago. And it was an any elk tag. First year archery hunting for elk over east. And we get over there, and he is kind of funny. So he's a Marine, and he got out of the service. So he reached out to some buddies, and they're like, hey, come check out this spot, this spot, this spot, this spot. So we're like, oh yeah. We didn't put any real effort into this hunt. We're just like, oh yeah, some dots on the map. Let's go do it, man. I got my Matthews Z7, so, and I'm still learning a lot. And I bet anybody who's ever picked up a bow, that first, I would even say like your first 2 years with a bow, like, is it worth it chasing after animals? I've been bow hunting for 4 years. I still feel like there's so much to learn.
Yeah. I'm at the 3-year mark, and I'm not shooting near as much as you are. And I'm going, man, I got to shoot a lot more.
Yeah. So it almost makes you feel like, you want to, when you're hunting anything, you want to make sure you're doing the most you can do to be the most proficient on it. Right. Mm-hmm. So we get over there, some dots on the maps, and like first couple days are pretty dry. We roll into, the third, fourth day, and stuff just starts blowing up. We start just bugles everywhere. It just sounds nuts. So we're both just chomping at the bit. We're chasing these elk. We're hearing bugles. We're bugling back and forth, not knowing a single thing what to do, right? Like, never have called elk, never have really bow hunted anything, and we're on elk. We're fresh sign. They're screaming. And so we're going around this, we're in this giant bowl, and we're kind of side hilling it, and it's got these fingers coming off of it. And we come up to this finger, and we're kind of just like head down walking and just moving, trying to get up to these guys. And we're coming around this bowl, and it kind of just plateaus out to a point. And then, we already know there's going to be like a drainage or some kind of deviation on the next side, like maybe another mini bowl or something. And so I come right over this little hill, and it's just, there's elk everywhere. There's freaking elk everywhere. And I'm looking at like 15 different elk, and he's like, elk, and he's pointing. And I was the first shooter. So I'm like, okay, freaking out, grab my arrow, knock it. And so we see this cow, he's 40 yards, draw back, put the bead on her, lining up my peep, lining up my sight housing. And where I messed up is I totally did not, focus on my level. So I hit her kind of back, and that was the bad taste in my mouth, man. Hit her back, got my arrow. It was definitely a confirmed hit. And we spent the next, I don't know, two full days looking for this animal that we never found. Called so many people and just asked, like, what's the tricks? What's the thing? We're looking for water. We're looking for buzzards. We're looking for crows. We're looking for magpie. We're looking for freaking anything, man. And I never found anything. And that, after that, was like, no, we weren't successful at all after the fact either. We got on them some more, but that changed everything. Because the following year we went back, and similar thing, right? We went back to the same area. No kidding. It was insane. It was like a combat thing. And I've learned so much about elk hunting in those 2 years. Because like over here on the west side, you might get on elk, you might chase elk but you might not ever see them, right?
Yeah.
Like you can hear them. You can see that they just came through here. You can see them maybe a mile away and try to get a game plan on them. But over there on the east side, like they're in your mouth. They're right there sometimes, right? Like they're like right there where you're like, man, if I had a rifle, this is game over.
Right.
This is game over. But like we literally spent a couple days just following them, literally, and making moves on them and trying to outsmart them. And it's like they know. They're like, huh, you're just a bow hunter.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have to be,
you.
I know how far you have to be away from me. So like, let's go. Right.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're just hot and heavy and ready to do their thing. They're raging, man. And so the next year was great. Got a couple awesome opportunities, drew back on a couple, and I was way more conservative. I was way more mentally tough at that point and like cognitive about what was going on. And that's huge in archery too, because you're not out there. I would say the majority of bow hunters aren't out there to just let arrows eat, especially after experience something like that. And I hope not everybody experiences that, but I'll tell you right now, if you do, that's going to go with you for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of a blessing in a sense, because I think it makes you better. It's the worst thing ever, but it definitely sets a precedence on what you want to be as a person and a hunter out there. And like I said, you know, before, I'm into the long run, man. I want to see animals when I go out. I want my kids to see animals when I go out. And that's really important to me. But
Yeah.
that's kind of how my elk started. And then it kind of rolled into deer. You know, now this year we're getting ready for a freaking muley deer, and we got some big expectations. But I think we've been putting in the work, and it'll be interesting.
You're
man.
gonna be ready.
It'll be interesting.
That right one comes across.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of those times too, like you were saying, those learning experiences, I feel like everybody's had that moment where you've couldn't find that animal or something, and it sucks. It really does. It's the worst feeling in the world. I've had that feeling twice. Both times have been the two biggest bucks I've ever killed. 3 times, counting one bow time with Blade. Blade wouldn't die. Oh my God.
It always comes back to Blade.
Yeah, I can't get over it. But I shot at him. I wounded him with my bow. Then you wounded him again, and we can't. Williams' curse. I think. I don't know. That deer just had it out for us.
I don't know if he was real to this day.
He was
Might have been a ghost.
Yeah.
He was a
Ghost deer.
100%.
That's blacktail 101. So I don't know. You're on the east side with that guy.
Yeah.
Well, we probably
Maybe he was
might
a
have
bench
hopped
leg
in
or
our
something.
truck. Yeah, he might have hopped in the truck on the way by. Get me out of here. But the first time that happened, my mistake was my dad has. Well, at this time I didn't have my 300 Weatherby yet. My dad has one. We have the exact same gun now, but I was using a 243. Beautiful gun, love it. I wanted my dad. So my dad spots this deer, and he goes, "Take my gun with you. Go down there. If it's a buck, kill it." Right? It was getting close to dark, steep country. I took my 243 instead. Put a perfect shot on this buck. Never, ever, 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 ever found it. All we found was cougar tracks, just dragging him about 3 ridges.
You're kidding me.
And then in that my first Eastern Oregon trip, had a opportunity, a big 4-point, hit him, skimmed across his shoulder. He was quartering away from me, and I put the crosshairs right on the shoulder, which I should have brought it back. I wasn't playing the angle at all. Shot, skimmed right off the front of the shoulder, didn't break nothing, didn't hurt him, just cut his hair, basically. He gets up, runs, goes about 3 ridges over. We followed him, comes down to the other side, and this Suburban comes flying up the road, stops, locks it up. This guy gets out and just starts absolutely unloading on this deer, dude, as the deer's running by, going across the backside of his trig, and just piles him up.
Oh my
They
gosh.
get the 4-point.
That's crazy to have somebody cut you off like that.
Yeah, it was like we were quite a ways out. Like you could just see the cloud of these guys were going 60.
Yeah, there's flying.
Minimum.
Oh my gosh.
Like they were going and then
They're anticipating it, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, by the time they saw the buck, they didn't stop for a quarter mile.
Yeah.
They were on the brakes, but they did not stop. They just kept going. And as soon as they get to that full stop, the guy in the passenger seat hops out, runs down the road a little bit, hops off the road, and just starts unloading.
That's the worst. My dad and I on the Upper Cali one time, back when those gates were open, we were up hunting it with my brother, and we'd seen some big grouse and stuff. Didn't see anything. We come walking down this hill, and it was like somebody fired, like it was like a semi-auto or something, like 7-8 rounds.
Yeah.
And we're like on the ground, at this point, because it's like pretty close. We come around and this lady on the road just smoked this 3-point. She had to put like 3 or 4 shots in this thing, and she was just like, "I got a nice one." She was all fired up, but we probably jumped that deer and pushed it right on her on the road.
Right to her, yep.
Yeah,
that's the worst.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah, it does happen, and it's happened in our favor too a lot, though.
Sure,
where other people bump stuff to us.
Well, even that big 4-point, my brother Charlie got over there. I think someone had to jump that thing because, I mean, it was running. We were in the bottom of this canyon just hanging out, and it was like 11 o'clock or something, and this big giant just runs and stops broadside in front of us. It's like a beam of light coming down on it.
Oh, they didn't see it either, did they?
Well, not right away. I was like, shoot that thing. It was my dad and my brother both had tags, and I didn't have. I filled mine the night before in a fork and horn, so yeah. But they got him. He was a nice buck.
Up the fork and horns, man.
I mean, the thing with you, Kyle, though, you're going to get over there. What I love about your dad too, Dylan, is like anyone gets a tag and he's like, "I'm taking 10 days off."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Immediately.
What a wild thing too, right? Like, he is awesome.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who it is. If they just say, "Yeah, I got this tag. When we leaving?"
Yeah, exactly.
Every time. It's
I'll
insane.
be ready.
But also, though, too, about those Eastern Oregon trips that I love so much, especially the bow season, that you're saying lack of pressure and stuff. And we were talking about how the numbers are it's just unbelievable. Like, you just driving down the road and you see these deer everywhere. But you can hunt there all day because as the difference from here, or from Western Oregon to Eastern Oregon, their cover's not so thick that you can get into them in their beds if you needed to. So you can spot them from wherever you're glassing from and walk in and make a stock. That's what we love to do so much, and that is what I think benefits bow hunting so much over there as compared to rifle season, because rifle, they just disappear.
Yeah,
I don't know where they...
Once the guns start blazing, the deer, start moving.
One of my favorite things, though, this is sorry to John. He didn't like this one at all, but when he had the tag last time, him and my dad, they go over like on Tuesday before the season. They have 4 days before the season even starts, and they just scout, hang out. And they spotted this buck, and they were watching him for 4 days at the very end of the burn. For 4 days, they're watching the same deer. And that next morning, somebody beat him to the end and walked in this road, and we just see him as we're pulling down. We're all getting excited. We're like, he's going to be the same spot. As soon as we start walking down, this guy's dragging out John's buck down the road, loading it into side by side. It was, I would like to say it was funny, but John was so mad.
Yeah, that is the worst about rifle too. Because I mean, every little spot you want to hunt, depending on, I mean, there's guys. It's kind of like your best salmon hole guys get there at 2:00 in the morning. So you get there at 4 thinking you're good, and oh man, somebody's in my spot. You're not going to experience that with the archery thing, which is great.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, there's people over
it's been blowing up, man.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to start getting deeper and farther out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it sucks as an archery hunter, right? But is great because I think our archery numbers for Oregon are it was pretty small. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I listened to a Oregon bow hunter thing, and our numbers are not compared anywhere close to a lot of other states, but they're on the rise. I think it's increasingly gone up in the last few years. And I've noticed, granted I'm a pretty new bow hunter, but I've noticed a lot of people getting out there, which is great. But yeah, rifle still holds the crown, I think.
And the rifle tag is fun to have, but it's still there's so many more people.
Oh, 100%.
I mean,
100%.
That's what really
on
appeals.
The roads and everything. for people who want to get out there and like get off the roads and get behind gates and really put the miles on, I'd still have hope for them. But I think it's an athlete's game right now, man. People are working hard. People are taking, I think a lot of good hunters and a lot of even novice hunters are really taking it serious and putting in that time and putting in that effort and getting farther back there and getting out there. Because, that's one thing for Oregon is we got a lot of good land out there to get on. A lot of other places, other states, public land is pretty small.
Yeah.
Private land is the big majority, so they kind of get in the short end of the stick. We're kind of lucky with a lot of that.
Yeah, we're spoiled.
And I think some people, the e-bike thing is interesting.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys talked about that. I don't know a whole lot about it, but
so I looked into them.
It's getting to be a big thing.
And they're really cool. And you buy one of these things. What was nice about them is as long as your motor was under 750 cc's, they were allowed. So they're like 749. They keep them right under or whatever the threshold is. And, if you take an animal, they have these little carts that you can attach to them too. And then you walk behind your bike and you can kind of get out that way.
Yeah.
But I think they got banned in like the federal forests or something.
Okay.
And so I think that's fairly recent. So that's going to hurt, the e-bike space. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
I wonder why that is.
I think maybe fire danger. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's new, man. It's new. It's a new deal.
Take 4-wheelers and stuff, can't you?
Not typically. Not off road during.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So those are cool though. They are really neat. Those
it'd be
e-bikes.
interesting. It'd be really interesting.
But
I'm not ready to invest into like a $1,500.
That's a hard sell
bike.
I'll just get another car.
I think I could put in the work enough to get my Lamborghinis moving a little bit. I'm not the most in shape. I'm sitting at like 210. I'm 5'9".
Same.
but I do prepare for hunting season. I take it serious. I get on the treadmill. I try to put in some work and obviously that I try to shoot a lot, and I think it's important. I think it's important even for like people in the rifle section too.
Yeah.
You want to be the best you can be out there.
Well, I was telling Dylan early in my hunting career, like age 15 to probably even into my 30s, I never used to get buck fever. I was just calm as a cucumber, pull up, shoot that animal, done. Start field dressing. They'd always drop right where I shot them, no problems. And then these last 10 years, maybe like 30s to 40s, and it started with like that blade year where my confidence got a little shaky, and like I missed a few times, just didn't know why. And then on my antelope, I was so amped up I could hardly shoot. And I think it was it was a lifetime tag in my mind, a 15-year tag. I didn't want to mess it up or something.
That's huge.
Or even this coyote I just shot at. I was so bloodthirsty to take him out because he'd been killing my babies.
Yeah.
That I was a little more shook up than I felt like I should have been. So I told him what I'm going to start doing is just pulling up my new gun on does and around the property and just dry firing and just keeping myself calm.
The calm.
And just get that muscle memory going again, because I've been noticing that I've just been so fired up for some reason. And he was saying it's like, well, maybe you're just more into it now than you used to be. And I think there is some truth to that. Like it's like I put this pressure on myself to be successful and you don't want to mess it up. And I felt that with archery too. It's like you work so hard and so much repetition, and it's fun. I enjoy shooting arrows. Like the first year I got into it, I would shoot 12 arrows a night, and I'd get home from work, I'd go shoot my 12, feel really good about it, go do that the next night and just do that every night. And it's kind of therapeutic. It doesn't
100%.
take that much time from the family. And
the next best thing to the part of that is slicing that steak right off the trigger and feeding it to my 4-year-old, my 2-year-old, my wife, and my newborn. It's like that's what I'm about. I'm about eating it. I'm about using as much of that animal as I can for that hard work, man.
Yeah.
Like you're out there, you're sacrificing the time away from your family, or even if you're lucky enough to bring them out there and do that. But I'll tell you right now, I don't care what hunter you are, you sacrifice a lot. You take away from your family time, you take away from your children is you have to. Like, there's so many more people out there. I know I could freaking name off a million different people that I know that spend way more time out there and are way more successful than me. But I don't know what it is about it. I just can't. I want to, but when it comes to like sacrificing that time with them, it's hard. And I think that's like it's like a barrier that some people can break and some people can't. And I'm not ready for that.
Well, but also when you got little ones at home and you're playing zone defense, I mean, you guys are outnumbered now. You got to work together, and it's hard to take time away from that.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool that you've got your 4-year-old out there with you, so they're already seeing dad.
She's
doing
ride
this.
or die.
Yeah. And I mean, is your wife a hunter too?
She grew up as a hunter. Yeah, she grew up as a hunter, man. When we first got together, it was crazy. This one hunt, we're out in Summit, Oregon, and Coast Range, blacktail hunting. And I'll never forget this day. She was like, oh, yeah, and let's go. We're going on this hunt. I knew nothing of this area. And we start going, and we get on this freaking goat trail, man. And I'm just following her. And we're going down the nastiest stuff, through the thickest of blackberries, up the gnarliest, steepest, all through viney maple, and we're just hammering it, man. And we're getting into deer. It was rifle hunting, and I had a shot on a deer, and wasn't successful, didn't take it, but it was just way too crazy. But man, she pounded the mountain hard. She got after it, and I'll never forget that moment. But she's kind of stepped back from it. We go out. I always call my vacation tags because it's always like late season. We get a second season elk tag, and general deer tag for her, and we go out and take the kids, and it's fun. We spend some time out there. It's like a glorified camping / outdoors trip. But hey, last year we chased some elk. We got on some good elk. She was pregnant as heck, and she's out there puking, and I'm driving her around, and I'm all like gun ho. I'm getting out of the truck. I'm like, oh, they're right here. They're right here. I know it. Let's go. Let's hit this draw. Let's climb this. And she's just sitting there yakking and dying. And then I'm like, okay, I'm dialing it back. I'm like, okay, well, maybe we'll drive. Well, let's try to drive around over here, and then maybe we'll just glass down this drainage, and maybe they're and just kind of play the game. But no, she loves the outdoors. I think when it comes down to it, it's 100%. We as a family love it. It's hard to moderate that commitment, right? Like, I'm sure some people who ride or die. They're out there every weekend. If you want to be a successful elk hunter or deer hunter, you will be out there the majority of the year. There's no doubt about it. Unless you're just lucky or you have a really good spot, you're putting in a lot of time. Every successful hunter is. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I feel like I've been really lucky because I'm probably giving it way more time now than I ever used to. But I used to, I'd give it some time, but never like these guys that are out there hustling.
Yeah.
I'd have moderate success. I feel like most of the time my tags get filled, and there's times where they don't. But
okay.
I give it as much time as I can. Kind of like you. It's like, I want to give it as much as I can, but I also know I have other responsibilities.
100%, yeah. And I think that's the best thing about the outdoors is like, there's room for people like that.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Like, just being out there, you're better off than sitting on the couch, sitting there playing video games and feeling sorry for yourself because you didn't make the effort, or you thought, oh, that 1 or 2 days this weekend, it's not enough time or whatever. No, just get off your ass and get out there and hunt or be out there. Like, that's how you going to hunt or see anything if you're just not out there. Be out there.
For your mental and physical health too. Once you're like a hunter and you see what that can do for you, it's hard to want to give that up.
Yeah. And then as a young parent, like coming through the COVID pandemic, that all was kind of wild for everybody. But as going through that, as a young hunter and a parent, like I want to have that installed in my children. I want them to know some basic survival stuff. I want them to know where their food comes from. I want them to know, like, clean eating is the best way to go. It's the smartest way. It's the healthiest way, obviously. That's been proven. I mean, you can do 5 minutes of research and that's pretty obvious.
Yeah. So,
granted, it's not practical for everybody. I get that. But, you can always try. If you're out there, you're trying. And that's what I got to say about it.
Yeah.
You got to get out there.
Oh, that's good. That's well said.
I love that we were talking, like you guys were talking about that like I wasn't even here, because I do that every day of the year, basically.
Yeah, you're a young dad.
Yeah, but I do still commit to the hunting season pretty hard.
Yeah. And you've been doing that for a long time. I mean, a lot of years.
Yeah. Well, it's just how my dad is, I think. It's just how I'm kind of wired. That's all I've really known.
Yeah, that's a good point, because your family is, I mean, if you say dedicated hunter, that's pretty much, it's falling in line.
Yeah. Well, my
Spent
dad,
a lot of time.
yeah, he takes off October and November. Like that, he's gone.
Yeah,
He's
we're not
at
even
work.
related. Like, we work together, and he's like, bet, let's go. I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
What? Let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
No, don't even care. Let's go.
Well, and you talk about, it's that's your vacations or hunting.
It is.
I mean,
It's
that's
everything.
what you do.
It's
Oh, yeah,
life. It's
well-
not even an option for me.
For my dad too, like he considers people like Kyle and John like part of the family. It's just his additional kids. So anytime that they're out doing it, he wants to share that memory. So he wants to be out there with them and helping them and trying to pass down his knowledge to as many people as he can, because he's got a fair amount of it when it comes to the hunting and life stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
he has guided us a long ways.
He's all right. I think he gets too much hype.
Yeah. I'll let you say that to him.
I'm excited. I'm excited for you guys, though. So when is that season? That's coming up, right?
We're leaving September 1.
Yeah.
See, it's August 12th today, so we got, it's right around the corner. It's knocking.
Yeah. No, I
So-
just this morning. Shout out to the bow rack, but we spent a couple hours there. I drug the family down there, got a final tune, and we're ready to rock and roll. It's gonna be awesome.
And Kyle and I've been playing like how I was for John's bachelor party and for your hunt that's coming up. I've been calling Kyle every single day, planning this.
Just
It's
getting
not,
fired up.
and it's his deer hunt. It's not even mine. And
No.
I'm calling him like, hey man, we need to get the food thing figured out. What are we taking? Where are we gonna hunt? All this stuff. I have this. Our first walk we're gonna do is a 12-mile loop. So hopefully I can survive through mile 2.
Well, Dylan gets a little fired up.
Oh,
you know?
I'm so stoked.
And he talks to you, me, and RVD. Like, when do you have time to do anything else besides all of us bugging you for hunting advice?
I don't work really. I do this full time. I'm just a podcaster.
Podcaster and full-time hunting guide.
Yeah. And I just talked Ryan and I just talk about trucking and stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's blowing
Just other
smoke.
stuff. Just life, golf, whatever comes up.
You're getting material for your future book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. But I don't know. These hunts, even like when I don't have a tech, especially when I don't have a tech, they are way more fun.
There's no pressure on you.
Yeah.
Direct pressure. Yeah.
I love it so much. And the fact that I get to go spend the week or long weekend with Kyle and then 10 days with you guys over there, I cannot wait. Like I'm begging for the season to get here.
Yeah, it's close.
I don't even
It's
care
close.
that I have tags here, really. I wouldn't even hunt if
Oh, we got
met-
our Willamette tag starting September 1st too there, buddy.
I know.
Ayo.
We got to figure that out.
Yeah.
We
We'll
got to
get
get our
that.
permits for our
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah, we do got to do that.
Well, you and John are, well, if he likes me, since I told him the wrong time.
Yeah, sorry, John. John, you were supposed to be here today, and we had a miscommunication on the timing of the event, and he's a newlywed. He's a busy man. We'll get him back on the show soon.
Yeah. But I need you guys to go get those permits so I can tag along.
John, if you're listening, let's make some time for that.
Yeah. And John, I'm so sorry.
So
And I
sorry
love
he messed up the time. He didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Mistakes are made at times. I was hanging out with Food Network people, just
Hey, you're a
eating
big
fancy
deal.
food. It was pretty cool.
You're kind of a big deal if you think about it.
No, I mean, you could buy tickets. It's like going to a
I
concert.
thought you had it.
Yeah, no,
I
it
thought
was
Gordon Ramsay hit you up.
no, it was like you bought a ticket to this thing, but it was cool.
You got to meet some people.
Yeah, Andrew Zimmer was a really cool guy, the Bizarre Foods guy. I
Don't
liked
call
a
him
lot.
Zimmerman either. He doesn't like it.
No, I did want to go straight to Zimmerman because it just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it's a better last name.
He's a good dude though.
Yeah. Andrew, change your last name immediately.
Yeah. Add that MAN. Why fight it?
We know he listens.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's a big listener.
Yeah, he's a OAP.
Yeah.
Like he's like a
OAP for life.
yeah
Yeah.
most faithful listener.
He is a hunter though.
Oh,
as
that's
well.
cool.
Yeah.
You should have got him on.
I'll work on it.
You never know, he might.
So you never know.
Hey, you want to fly out to Oregon?
Yeah, we'll put you up in the Phoenix Inn.
Yeah.
Oh no! At least the Best Western, man.
No, Sam has a coupon. To the
I got a
Phoenix Inn.
coupon for a
Oh,
free night.
fair enough, fair
I've been trying to use it. We
Yeah.
could have put you up in it, Kyle. You
Dang,
and the
I
wife
don't know.
and
We're about
kids.
15 minutes away, so we're all right. We're all right. It's just something about not sleeping in your own bed,
But the Phoenix Inn?
Yeah, man.
You serious? That's a 5-star.
Yeah, for sure.
There's all the best amenities right in walking distance.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Denny's.
Grand
Good old-
Slam.
that's Albany, yeah.
Yeah, and Home
Yeah.
Depot.
Oof.
And I-5 is your
That Best
view.
Western you guys got in Lebanon is pretty swanky.
Man, it's premier, bro.
Yeah,
it's premier.
it's pretty fancy.
They got 1847 the bar and grill. Shout out 1847. Not bad.
Yeah, good
It's
Feel a
food.
little
pretty good.
bougie, man. Go get yourself an old fashioned.
Yeah, it is a nice place. They
It
did
is.
a really good job with that.
Awkward though. Best food I've ever had there. Fish and chips. Fucking weirdest thing in the world.
I love
Best
it.
fish and chips.
I love any store. Oh, we got muted. Sorry, but I love it when you lead into a story with awkward.
It's so
It was
weird,
just
man.
fish
So
and
weird.
chips. Like, how's that
Willamette
weird?
Valley fish and chips. I don't know, man. That's good.
So
That's
should
the
we
best stuff
share
ever.
what you did between Kyle and I trying to create some animosity?
Yeah, I do think it needs to be
you-
brought up. And
you
we
should-
need to squash the beef. Kyle,
Yeah.
it's time to get this
So
over with.
Dylan he tells me out of the blue, hey man, Kyle, he just doesn't really like you, man. I'm like, dude, I barely know him. He seems really cool. I just talked to him at this 3D shoot. He seemed really nice. Like, what did I do? And he's like, he just
hates you.
your vibe and his just aren't working out. And I'm like, man, I gotta win him back, So Dylan's got me going on this for, I don't know, a couple days probably.
Couple weeks.
I think-
Was it?
Yeah, since the 3D shoot.
Yeah.
I think if you don't know Dylan Williams, he is the best person to kick the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
If you want to
Yeah, we'll
fucking
toss it up.
start shit or get somebody going, like Dylan Williams, your best friend.
He's the
Let's
guy.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm a weird person though. I'll be honest. Like, I'm skeptical of people, so like I'm always defensive, and I think like when Dylan always, like you said, he talks to everybody, right? He'll call me like 4 times a day. I'm like, dude, I actually have fucking shit to do, so like I
gotta work
can't talk
today.
to you right now. But sometimes we'll have like good conversations, and it'll be all great. But it gets weird sometimes, and he likes to stir the pot, man.
I do.
He gets after it. It's
Well,
funny.
I'm bored, man.
Yeah. So
Well, what I
bored.
was gonna do when you first got here is just kind of be like, "Hey, man, I just want to clear the air. I'm sorry, sorry, whatever I did to offend you." Like he wanted me to keep it going
Yeah.
on the other side. but
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't
But
have it in
He
me.
likes
I
to make
want-
things awkward.
I
man.
wanted Sam to be like, well, I heard you don't like me. Anyways, let's get this thing started.
Yeah.
And then just
Welcome to the
yeah.
Outdoor Adventures
Like,
podcast.
so then you had to just stew in that for a while is what I was hoping for.
Well, I mean, hey, what's up? I'm here.
Yeah.
I know. We're
I
happy.
showed
We're,
up.
we're glad that you showed up.
Hey, you're a likable guy. I'm sorry that I offended you and you don't really like me, but I'm glad you came on the show in spite of all that. So
The coolest thing about that, we'll go back to when we were talking about the 3D shoot. So we go there, and it was correct me. It was a advertise, or how did that work? It
Well,
was
we were-
it was like I was totally surprised by it which was dumb because I heard about this because me and Dylan, like I said, he calls me and we just talk shit.
So
We
he
just talk
told
shit
he
all
told
day.
you about it already. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, you got to go to this, or it's not an invitational, but it's a sponsored 3D shoot. My cousin's put it on, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, fuck that. I ain't going to that. That's dumb, dude. He's going to try to get me to buy something or sell my house or, like something crazy, right? Or like, and
refinance.
And so, like, funny or not, I'm there on the day shooting this shoot, and I'm like blown away. I'm like, and I see him, and I'm like, oh my God. I was like, that's right. This is freaking Sam. I was like, we hunted that one time over there and did our thing, but we were hunting separately. We didn't hunt together. We were just at the same camp. And so this is the first time I really met him. And then I see him there, and obviously all the crap talk Dylan does about you behind your back, not a big deal. But
no, not a big deal.
We get there, and I'm like, oh, and I was like, dude, what's up? And then I spent a bunch of money in raffle tickets, which paid off because I got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And what a blast that day was. That if you guys don't do that every year, you're crazy.
Well, we definitely want to do it again. We raised $1,601, I think, for Link Up Vets, which is a good organization. All the money goes to the veteran community, and so that was the whole point. We weren't promoting really our businesses.
Sure.
It was more about Link Up Vets, and it was our first time doing something like that. It was fun. It was really cool.
No, it was beautiful.
And your group was really a fun group to have because everybody was having a good time, shooting good, and I don't know. It was a cool thing.
Did anybody win that dot?
One guy finally did. Yeah, we
kidding.
had a dot shot where you just shoot through a PVC pipe, and the one guy finally hit it and got the rangefinder we were giving away on that one. That was cool.
It was a rowdy shot, man. I think we
you guys were close.
It was. I want to say it was close to 40 yards.
Very close.
And man, it was. I think it was 1-inch PVC.
Yeah, and you weren't allowed to range it.
Nope, no range.
So you just come up, and it was downhill.
It was a little
shot.
Downhill, little slope. It was tricky, man. It was a good time. It was really neat.
You guys were lucky I didn't bring my bow out.
Everybody wanted to shoot it more than once, dude. Everybody's like, oh, they're just, after you shot, you're just chomping at the bit. You're like, oh, please.
We should have offered like $5 for a second shot.
That might not be a bad idea, right? Because, I mean, the odds of hitting it, I mean, I don't know. Me personally, as an archer, odds of me hitting in a 1-inch circle at 40 yards, maybe 2 shots. I would love to say I would. Yeah, one out of one for sure. Maybe I would love.
But if you're shooting a tight group, you're happy with that. So getting that perfect shot, there's a luck element. We also had a 90-yard on that moose money shot.
Yeah,
where you paid, I think
it's $10.
Yeah, something like that, and you got 4 shots or 2 shots or whatever it was.
That was a hoot.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good time.
My luck is I would shoot it, and then I would get another arrow. I would pull my arrow, and I'd just blow up my first arrow. That would be my luck. That'd be my luck.
Or dry fire.
There goes that Black Eagle Rampage.
We had a guy dry fire because you're getting excited or whatever, and he dry fired, and thankfully it
did it blow it up.
Didn't seem to mess up his bow. He was lucky he didn't get hurt because I heard you can break your arm if you dry fire a bow. If it hits you wrong, Man, I'm not kidding you. I would never want to do that. No,
I shoot a UV button this year, so I'm still pretty comfortable with it, but. Man, there's so much energy going on there. Like I said, I got 30-inch draw with 75-pound mods.
Yeah,
that I couldn't imagine. What that's gonna. I feel like it'd blow up my bow.
Yeah,
just explode. Sometimes I'm questionable at arrows.
Yeah,
I'm just like.
So over east, where you're gonna be hunting, these shots sometimes, these deer, like you got at, even with the elk, they know what your range is to a degree.
Yeah.
So it's like 70, 80, 90. They'll push out to 110. They'll push out to 200. They'll let you close that gap or whatever, but you can't. So how far are you willing to shoot? What is your comfort level? That's
funny you asked that. I was down getting my bow tuned up today, and I had a conversation with this older gentleman, but I never caught his name. His first name was Rick. Obviously, he was yoked, probably in his 60s. His arms were 3 times the size of mine, very in shape, had a tack sticker on his bow. He knew his shit. And I asked that question. I said, hey, I was like, what are you up to this year? Where are you going? And he was like, yeah, I'm going over east. And I was like, what's that long? What's your longest yardage? Like, what are you going to be comfortable on a muley? And he was like, he kind of gave me like a story before that. And long story short, he said 70 yards on perfect conditions, perfect everything. And I was like, man, okay. And for me lately, that's all I shoot for a shot. This last probably 2 months is first arrow is 70 yards. And I kind of that was my mentality. I was like, man, that's what I really want to be proficient at. I want to be hitting $50 at 70 yards. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's good.
In a perfect situation, right? So that's flat ground, decent target, and good wind conditions. And then him saying that, I'm like, I kind of like second guessed myself. I was like, okay. I was like, this is a guy, I don't know him from anything, but I don't know what he does for practice. I don't know what his history is with a bow, but I'm like, man, it's hard to say. I comfortably all day 50, 60, any of that. I really want 70. But I think even as you as an archer and Dylan as what archery he has in him, I think it just really depends on the situation. Like,
it does.
It's so I think that's what pulls you into this game. I'm gonna call it a game because it really is. Anybody who plays video games or does any kind of games, like, it draws you in, right? If you're interested in it, it's gonna suck you right into it. Archery is just like that. You're always chasing like your limits. What's next? But on the hindside to that, when you're taking a life or, harvesting an animal, you have to know the alternative, or, the weakness of that point. If you make a bad shot, you hit them in the low back or wherever, you miss, that's a big deal. So
I'd rather miss than take a bad shot.
I would hope that I get a 20-yard shot and just he goes 20 feet and piles up. Yeah, that's the game. But I don't know. Comfortably, I'm gonna be comfortable at 70. There's no doubt.
I think that's a good place to be. I was comfortable at 60 last season. That's kind of where I kind of dialed in. I was just at 60, and I think I'd like to push to 70, maybe even to 80. I mean, that's like long-term goal kind of thing. And I don't know that you'd take that 80-yard shot, but it'd be nice to have that option. If you really had some time at it. You know?
And I've been working hard. So if I get a shot at 70, like, it's going to be no doubt. Like, if I doubt it, then I'm not going to take it. Yeah. It's going to be like because that's why I said, first shot every day, 70 yards. And then I've been kind of playing a game. I just work it in. We go 70, 60, 50, 40, down to 20, and then I work back. And just for fun.
Yeah.
That's smart. It's interesting, man. But whatever you do, wherever you shoot, it has to be without a doubt. Or why do it?
Yeah. I like that. Well, I'm looking forward. Every time we have somebody on, we're like, okay, recap show.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
We got some fuel here. We're getting you fired up for this hunt that's coming up, and I wish you the best of success. And you got some good guys to go with. And my brother actually has the tag too, but we booked a trip with the rest of the family in Idaho, and so I don't know. He may end up buying a general Western tag because a little more time to hunt.
Right. So, get that late season maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good for over here, man. Yeah. Tell you what.
There's going to be a lot.
If you can catch them before it gets dark, man.
There's going to be a lot of blacktail on the ground this year, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool, guys. I think we covered it. Kyle, appreciate you coming on, and in spite of what Dylan did to create a wall between the two of us, that you powered through that. And
well, I think it's a team building exercise. I'm doing this for the podcast.
Yeah.
Putting you in awkward situations.
Give us something to talk about.
Build over that wall.
I see.
To conquer an obstacle.
To help me that way when I'm trying to book different people, I won't give up with the first no.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And Johnny, again, we apologize for the misconnection today and the bad timing. Wish you the best. Hope your new married life is going great.
Yeah, and text me back.
Yeah, text Dylan back. He's sensitive. It's hard on him. He just misses hearing your voice. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for inviting me on here. Do you guys are you guys going to be posting? Do you guys have a Instagram or page for outdoor podcast?
Yeah. Outdoor Adventures Podcast on Instagram. And we have a Facebook, and then we usually when we put these out, we put them out. We try to put one out once a week, but we all have lives and we get busy, and so sometimes it will miss a week here and there, but we'll throw it out on Instagram, or I always put it on Facebook too, and just kind of throw some pictures of whoever's on the podcast. So,
do you want me to do a quick read for Mrs. Fields before we sign off?
Well, so Dylan's been working on this.
Yeah.
We do have a few different affiliates that we've connected with, and one of them is Mrs. Fields Cookies. And so, if you buy Mrs. Fields Cookies through the link in our bio, we get a little piece of that action, which helps support the podcast and what we're doing. So, yeah, go ahead. I mean, you've been working on some commercials. You've tried the product now. We ordered some here for the studio. They're pretty tasty. I personally like the chocolate one with the white chips.
Yeah,
so
that's my favorite too.
Yeah, white chocolate chips and then a chocolate cookie. So kind of different than what you're used to. But
I forget what they were called. The 10.
The sampler.
Whatever. We're just going to run with it. This podcast is brought to you by Mrs. Fields Cookies. Head over to the OAP Cruise Instagram page to check the link in our bio and get yourself a 40-piece white chocolate nibbler set on the house. Not actually on the house. I just threw that in to sound better.
Yeah. Yeah. You're supposed to say that really quiet, like the fine bread. Not actually. We can't promise how these cookies will taste or feel, or the contextual. But no, they are having a promo right now. It's their anniversary sale. So if you go to the link in our bio, you get 20% off. And we like them. I mean, you need snacks when you're out in the woods. And they're small, little bite-sized. You get 3 in a package, individually wrapped cookies. And they're soft. They're not a hard cookie.
Which is a huge thing.
Yeah. That was when I told Dylan soft cookies, he was more on board.
Yeah. It made me excited.
They're pretty good. So.
But yeah, like, do you get your sugars up? I always crave a sweet when we're hunting. Always. It's always something, either a sweet or Chinese food, and I can only usually get the sweet out of that.
Yeah, it's hard to call in the Chinese food.
Yeah, they don't deliver.
Yeah, I'm going to send you this Onyx location. Yeah. Can you send your guy now? He'll be here in 4 hours.
But yeah, so anyways, check out OAP's Instagram page for the links in our bio.
Nice. We also just got some swag, too. So we haven't posted any pictures on that, but we got some hats and some sweatshirts and some T-shirts, so...
Yeah, we need to start posting this. I'm surprised we haven't even done that. We haven't even talked about that really yet.
No, we should. We'll put some of these out there. This is the part where people usually tune out, so it's a good time to talk about.
Yeah.
This is how the wrap up when the music starts coming in.
Yeah.
Dan, time for you to start cueing music maybe about 7 minutes ago, and just gonna fade us out. So, anyway,
the longest outro in history of every podcast. Yeah. People are like, they might be tuning it like, is it gonna end?
What are these guys talking
15
about?
15 minutes later, and here we are.
They're catching up on their day.
Yeah.
All right. But seriously, Kyle, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you guys. Good. This is awesome.
Looking forward to hearing about the hunt.
I was a little nervous. So
oh, you did great.
Appreciate it.
Good story.
You did a great job. But we're going to have to do a recap. So we have about 78 recap videos. We still got to get Ryan on for the Reno recap.
Yeah. Recaps are fun, though, because that's the whole point. We talk about stuff, and then we talk about what happened after. So,
yeah.
Hey, we're all just trying to get better at this crazy thing called life. So...
And this podcast and with the OAP crew.
It's OAP.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Bye.